governors and city officials will take from what we've been doing over the past 6 months, 9 months, is to realize that they need to, this is money, this is taxpayer money, the generosity of the American taxpayer, and so they need to do their part to make sure that they are the first line of defense, that the people applying for these benefits are entitled to receive them. But if we learn that they're not only closing their eyes and letting it happen, but affirmatively helping in a criminal way, we'll definitely move forward with that. Yeah.
That, it's been a while now since Vice President Vance referred the top Democratic leadership of Minnesota to DOJ for this type of investigation. Can you talk about the status of where that stands?
Of where an investigation, the leaders of
he referred it over here. Is that something you've opened on, or you intend to, or can you just are you making progress toward that end?
We've spent a ton of resources, and we continue to spend a ton of resources in Minneapolis combating fraud, and that includes a very intense look at the leadership and the programs and who's administering them. But beyond, and the governor knows that, and everybody knows that, and that should be the case. That's what every single person should expect us to do as the Department of Justice. But I don't have an update or comment on how that's progressing beyond the fact that, yes, we have a lot of resources spending there, yes.
Attorney General, this is either for you or for the U.S. Attorney. There's a hearing scheduled for Friday in the Luigi Mangione case, and the question is whether does this indicate that there might be a plea in the offing in that case? Is there anything you can update us on that issue?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a conference scheduled for 11 a.m. on Friday, and that's all we can say at this time.
On this case for the attorney, I was curious about what were the common themes here of people who were Americans that were targeted in this? If you can clarify how this was, maybe discovered and how these people were found to take part in this.
It's a good question. I'm not sure that there was a common theme with respect to the Americans. I think there were common themes in respect to the ways that they were recruited. They were recruited through various networks. The individuals that we've charged today, some of them were recruiters. They were out trying to identify people who would serve on the other side of these sham marriages. They then used their own networks to try to recruit additional people. A significant amount of it was done through various methods of communication, including social media, advertisements that were sort of veiled where they may not have been apparent on their face, that they were recruiting U.S. citizens to participate in these sham marriages, but that could lead to the initial discussion, and then in those discussions they were recruited to be part of the scheme.
Alex.
One on this case, just on the number of marriages, the 1,000 number, I mean, what happens to the people who receive the green cards? Is there a process where they're going to be ultimately have their green cards revoked? And then on a separate question afterwards, if I can.
Sure. So it depends on the circumstances. So this scheme started in 2016, ended now. We just brought it down. And so depending on where a criminal, because that's what they are, where they are in the process of the immigration process. Some of them will be earlier on, some of them already have their green card, some of them may actually already be citizens. So depending on where they are, yes, that's part of the investigation that we're doing now, and there's a lot of work. There's thousands of marriages that we're looking into, and so I expect that there will be more work, whether that's civil, like you just asked, where you're pulling their immigration status and deporting them, or criminal, depending on the circumstances and the proof that we have. Exactly, but that's a big effort that we're undertaking now, and I think that it's hard to say this is what will happen with every single sham marriage, because it depends on the evidence and the factors.
And just on a follow-up, the president has never gone as far as you have to say that the anti-weaponization fund is dead. Now that you've been confirmed, narrowly because arguably of that anti-weaponization fund, the president said this week he'd leave it up to you. What's your answer? Is it dead, and is it ever going to come back?
Well, so I quibble with that because the president said in the cabinet meeting that it's dead. He's also said that he likes it, but he has also said it's dead. Now, as for me, and I keep on saying this over and over again, but I'm happy to say it one more time. I have testified under oath that it's dead. I have testified in front of the House where I wasn't under oath, where I said it was dead. I have answered questions after my hearing where I said that it was dead. I have rescinded the order that set up the weaponization fund, which means that it does not exist. As we've said repeatedly, there were never commissioners. There was never any money went anywhere. So I'm not sure how I can further say that the anti-weaponization fund doesn't exist, or we use the word dead. But if anybody has any ideas, we also have said under oath that if Congress would like to make it a law, that we would support that, as would the White House. So I'm not sure. I get that this is a super fun story to not let die, but I don't know what else to say except that yes, the president feels very strongly, as do I, that there were people who were victims of a Department of Justice that was absolutely weaponized, and he feels very strongly that he would want to make them whole, as do I. But it will not be through the anti-weaponization fund, which again was never set up, and nothing has happened with it. But thanks, Alex. Sarah?
I'm short. I have an on-topic and an off-topic. On-topic, I know that SDNY in particular actually has done a lot of investigations over the last several years into, people who were harassed by China, who were political dissidents, who were trying to escape oppression. So I'm curious if any of the people in these 1,000 marriages were maybe in that position where they were trying to get cover, to protect themselves from being harassed by China. That's my on-topic question.
So I think, and Jamie can speak more to this if he chooses, but it's hard to label a particular marriage and a particular reason or why it happened. You're right, Southern and Eastern District of New York have had a lot of cases in that space over the past couple of years. When I will add, though, that if there is a Chinese national who feels like they're being harassed, they have other ways to remedy that besides entering into a sham marriage, right? You can't, just because you're being harassed doesn't give you the right to go commit a crime. So, but yeah, I don't think it's fair to try to say some percentage or some number may have separately claimed that they were harassed, so.
My off-topic, I was just curious if there were any updates. We've been having primaries across the country, and as usual, the Civil Rights Division has been sending monitors in some of these places to sort of keep tabs on things. In the past, the head of the Civil Rights Division has said some of these counties have had irregularities, she said in the past. What's been the feedback so far? Have you spoken with people in the Civil Rights Division to see what they're observing in these primaries, and if you have any concerns that they have raised as they've been observing polling places?
So I don't have an update necessarily today to say here's what we're doing, but yes, that is something that the Department of Justice, as every Department of Justice does, is making sure that we're appropriately monitoring between now and, you're right, there's primaries, but up through the election, and we'll continue to do that. I think there's not anything secretive about this process. There's not supposed to be. I don't think there should be. So to the extent that the Civil Rights Division is doing something, we're not going to do it in secret. You'll know about it because it's important the American people know about it, because we're doing it to make sure that we have elections that are fair and run the right way. So all right, I'll take one more question. Got it. Go ahead.
Next week, there's a deadline in the Komi case. The defense has said that there was evidence that was gathered by the government that suggested there were alternative reasons, sort of the restaurant narrative of '86. How confident are you today that that case will survive to trial and ultimately result in a conviction?
So I'm not going to comment on a defense filing in any case, because that's not fair to any of the parties involved. And so I don't have a comment on the way that every case works in this country is that when every indicted case it means a grand jury has returned an indictment. That means that a grand jury found probable cause that a crime has been committed, and there's a trial. And there's a lot of cases as a prosecutor that I felt were definitely going to get convictions and that didn't, or that it was a tough conviction. There's cases that were really, really tough that got convictions, and so I'm certainly not going to act like I have a crystal ball and predict what's going to happen with that case at trial, but it's enough to say that this was a case that was returned by a grand jury. It's not out of D.C., it's out of a district in North Carolina, and we'll go from there. All right, thanks a lot, everybody. Have a good day.